Hello everyone. Here's our second image. Now this last time with Andromeda we made an image that was a one color shot camera pre-stretched with Dwarf 2's PNG files. This will be a monochrome image, meaning all the data is in black and white, but passed through different color filters of red, green, blue, and luminance so that we can then colorize that information and then in the process be able to reconstruct that image. So with that, we first will open up our image as we have did last time. Now here we're going to be going down to new image process and we want astrophotography stack. And then we come to this page. Now to the right, we can see here is where the files will be added. And then we'll have these different types of files. We have lights, darks, flats. For this, we'll just have the light files, but with other astrophotography, these are what are called calibration frames, the darks, the flats, and so forth. We're not going to deal with that with this image because the images that I have are already calibrated, so we don't need to do this. But just in the future, if you want to do that, I'd encourage through James Ritson's tutorials or like Quiv the Lazy Geek to go ahead and have that. So, Quiv the Lazy Geek is a great YouTube page. He gives good tutorials, so does Nebula Photos. Now, we want to find the M33 file, and if you open that up that I gave to you, you'll have blue, green, luminance, and red. Now, the nice thing, again, is if you have a Mac, all you have to do is click on the file, and those images will go into the file area. Windows, you gotta highlight all the FITS files. And so therefore, we will identify this as our blue channel, then add files, and then our green, go down and select green, click the File tab again for a third layer, which will be Luminance, open, and then you want to name that Luminance. And then a fourth file, it will then add files, be your red data. And then again, you want to hit red. There we go. Now, I don't know why this is the case, but, oh, sorry, accidentally hit the file. We don't need a fifth file, so delete, hit the trash can. I don't know why, but I always feel a need to go back to the first group before stacking. I don't know what it is. I just find I get better results that way. Maybe I don't. So now we hit the stack button. Now this is stacking 12 images. And it's working quick. This is a new MacBook Air. It's got the M5 chip. But it does still, even with 12 images, it takes time. Now with the Dwarf 2, it does save all these individual, they're called FITS files. I really don't know enough about FITS files to tell you why they're different from other files, but it's what astrophotography images often use. You can stack the individual files too instead of using the PNG, but to get the image of Andromeda that we edited in the last video, you're stacking like 400 images. So if your computer is slow and old, you're going to be waiting forever. Where with a new computer, it goes a little bit quicker. So, stacking done. Now, before we do anything else, we have to hit apply. Hit apply because I've, for personal experience, have messed that up. Now, there's an automatic tone stretch that Affinity Photo gives to the images. And you can see here's our data, our red, our luminance, our blue, and our red. And it's labeled nicely. There's also on these layers these little like eyeballs to the right where you can turn on or turn off. So we're going to turn off that initial luminance layer, so that's a nice flat dark image. Now we're going to go through and rename these sections. So on the red, rename that capital R, and please make it capital R. Then on the luminance, capital L. On the green, G. On the blue, guess blue, B, correct. So we have our layers now with just these letters. And then we'll just go ahead and delete this tone stretch. Take that out. Oh, I must have forgot to do this one. So R, there it goes. So we have R for red, L, G, and B. Now, going over for the James Ritson presets, we need to colorize this. So the last image that we had, we basically stuck to the 32-bit version 20 at data. The 16-bit you can try too. I just always use the 32-bit. But before we get into anything with that, we have to colorize this image. Now, the way we do that is we go to the James Ritson presets of data setup. All right, and then we scroll down. Now on here, you can supposedly rename what the level layers. I haven't been able to get it to work, so I just do it manually. You hit L RGB composite setup, and if you look, it's rearranged the different layers, L, and it's colorized each. And so therefore now we have taken the data from the 4 channels, assigned them color values of LRGB temperatures, and so now we have a color image setup. Now from here we have to do what's called stretching. The image we looked at last time was pre-stretched, so we didn't have to do this. But let's do a normalized tone stretch. And when it stretches, you might think, oh, Father, that's way too bright. Fear not. If we go up to Pixel, and then over to Filters and Astronomy, click on Remove Background, and then hit this little button that says Sample at the Handle. This is the handle, this little round area here. Okay. And then what you do is you grab the handle, and then you move it. Oh, what happened here? Let's see, let's try to grab it again. Huh. Oop, uh-oh, okay. Here, let's undo. Let's just delete it and start over again. This will just take a sec. So go back, we'll go back to our color, our LRGB composite. Look, there it is. That colorizes it. Okay. I just always like to check to make sure that everything came out right, and it did. And then close those options, and then normalize tone stretch. Now let's try this again after this tone stretch is done. All right, now go back up to Pixel, Filters, Astronomy Filters, Remove Background, Sample at Handle. Let's grab that again. Oh, come on. My finger must not be working too good tonight. There we go. And then when we move it around, what we're doing is we're sampling the background and trying to find a place that gives us a dark background, but also starts to let the star nebulosity come through. So I'm thinking right about here is a good start. Now what we can do is go to this output and start to play with that, and it can start to reintroduce colors. So you can kind of have that to taste, apply, and there's our color image. I mean, now in some ways we could just stop here, but what's the fun in that? so we can continue to um, you know, rotate, clip the image, resize the image. The do is an essential part of astrophotography. Just so it kind of gets into whatever your eye prefers. Zoom in. And so there we have a nice starting point for the flame, Horsehead, and the nebulosity. Now, from here, what I would like to do is instead to go to, these are the things that are already um, uh, offering to you. So adding contrast, brightness, you can really have some fun just with the basic tools to start to try to pull out parts of the image that you enjoy. I like lower contrast astrophotography images just because, as you can see, the reds of the nebula kind of come out a little bit better. That might be a little bit too low contrast. But you can kind of play around with that. Play with, we'll leave that, play things like saturation and vibrance, all the data, all your layers, just it reminds you what you've done to the picture so far. And then, let's see what happens. Let's go full vibrance. Ugh, I do not like that. So pull it back. You can kind of play with those sliders, and let's just delete it. I actually kind of like it the way that it is. And I would consider that a pretty darn close, near to done image. And you can, curves is another one you can play with. They have different things like S curve, reverse S curve. Again, I could give you a technical explanation, but the easiest thing for starting, just play around, hit some curves, see if it kind of presents some color toning that you like. If you don't like it, you just hit the delete button and go back to the starting point, and just to try to find what really speaks to you. And then again, as I was sharing before, welcome to creating your own icons of the night sky. You're in the Visio Divina. Here are your ways that you can create your own images that you can, similar to that icon of Jesus the Pantocrator, make for yourself. Now you can also, I forgot to show you how to export in the last video. So you hit export. I always export best quality JPEG. And then that way, export, give it a title. Well, first let's find it a home. We'll put it on our desktop. Very good. And we'll rename this Flame and Horsehead. Save. And there we go. Exporting. And like I said, these print out nice too. Now, if we zoom in, you will notice I got this data for free, and I'll show you why. You see all these bizarre artifacts, like these red dashes and satellite trails and that kind of stuff. You can remove that. There are tools to do that. It's very labor intensive and time intensive. So just for the sake of this example, I'm not going to go through how to remove all of that. It's actually kind of simple to remove that, but it's tedious and it takes time. So maybe if one of you want to reach out to me, we can do a Zoom session and I can show you how to edit those things out. But for what it is, I think we have a done image. So thank you very much. This is image 2. Tomorrow I will show you how to do Hubble palette imaging.